In mid-October, Vilnius and Kaunas turned on central heating. This piece of news got me curious about what exactly it meant for a city to turn on the heat. Don't homes and apartments have their own heaters and hot water tanks? Well, no, at least not in many apartments across Lithuania. In fact, all of this has introduced me to the concept of district heating. Because it turns out that Vilnius and other Lithuanian cities heat up huge amounts of water and pipe it all across the city into thousands of homes, meaning that it's the city that decides if and when your radiator will start working. This will probably be incredibly normal for people who grew up with it, but for people like me, coming from cities that don't use this form of heating, it's actually pretty fascinating. And so I thought I would make a video about it. You see, I never thought about homes or other buildings being heated by some faraway external source. That's because most or maybe all of my life was spent living in places that had electric baseboard heaters like these. And if extra heat was needed, you might pull out something like this. So as far as I knew, heating of a room or home was extremely localized. You decided exactly when your home should be warmed up, and nobody else. And so I was surprised when I found out about the way Vilnius and other Lithuanian cities heat buildings and supply hot water all over their territories. Of course, I now know that many other cities around the world use this kind of system, but maybe you're like me and just never thought about it. In fact, the company responsible for Vilnius, which goes by the name Vilnius Šilumos Tinklai, provides heating and hot water to 210,000 households and businesses in the capital. This means operating a heating network that spans over 740 kilometers, which heats over 20 million square meters of space. Suddenly, learning about the centralized system made me realize two things. First, it explains why, on a cold winter day, I'll see so many random patches of sidewalk completely ice-free, since there are large pipes of hot water running underneath. It also explains why my wife tells me every now and again that there won't be any hot water in the apartment for 1 or 2 days. She always told me that tests were being performed, and I always thought this was a local, building-related issue. But it turns out that hydraulic tests are performed all over the city. These take place after the end of the heating season and continue until September. These are routine checks and repairs of heat lines and are carried out in order to reduce the risk of incidents during the heating season. According to the Vilnius company's website, the tightness and strength of pipelines is checked by hydraulic testing, which identifies corrosion or cracks. In fact, Lithuanian heat suppliers are obligated to perform such tests by law. 90% of these tests last no longer than 2 days, and in 2021, the average duration of hydraulic testing in Vilnius was a little more than 1 day. Unfortunately, if an issue is detected, fixing it could take up to 5 business days, which makes having a good friend in another part of the city a key asset when you are in desperate need of a hot shower. Unless you're brave enough to endure a cold shower. While the occasional loss of hot water can be inconvenient, heating systems like these can provide higher efficiencies and better pollution control than if each home had their own hot water boiler tank. And it's even better if the source of the heat comes from clean energy. Unfortunately, due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, many cities in Lithuania are temporarily replacing cleaner-burning natural gas with a more polluting, low-sulfur fuel oil. The Vilnius company says this on its website. Unfortunately, this heating season will be one of the most difficult in history, so we inevitably had to make difficult but important choices. The decision to use low-sulfur fuel oil is only a temporary measure, which allows uninterrupted supply of heat and hot water to Vilnius residents and to offer an economically reasonable price. Alternative and temporary solutions were also taken by other European countries or cities. Still, despite burning a dirtier energy source, using this centralized heating system is at least more efficient than thousands of apartments having their own separate sources of heat and hot water. So if you're still watching, I hope you found this topic interesting, even if it's something you might already be familiar with. If you learned something new today, or if your own city's system is something different, I would love to hear about it. Leave a comment down below and let me know. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.